Now that the heads are done and ready to go back on, we can focus our attention back on the block. What we need to find out now is what two gaskets we need to run. Do we need to run the 32 thousandths gasket or the 16 thousandths gasket? This is the way you check it. First, put your gasket on. Be real careful because these things will rip. We want to go ahead and put a piston on. We don't have any rings on it, so we don't have to worry about breaking our rings. All we want to do is just slide the piston on, put our wrist pin in, don't put a clip in it. This is all just temporary. All of it's going to come back off. This is just for measurements. So we're still at top dead center on the back. And so we'll go through and we'll put our wrist pin through. And now our piston is in place. We need to go get our jug. I want to spray. Now I've already sprayed a bunch of WD-40 on our piston. I'm going to do it anyway. The inside of the cylinder, I'm going to spray a bunch of WD-40 on it, just so everything is real good and lubricated. Spray some on the back side. We're good to go. Alright, we can just slide this guy on. Straight over the piston. Reach back, grab our chain. If the chain drops, it's alright. It's not going to go nowhere. It's not going to fall off the sprocket on the bottom end. All you need to do is just reach up underneath there and reach down there and grab it. If you can't grab it, just get a magnet. It'll come out. Slide it down there, just work it down. Be sure that everything lines up with the dowel pins and pop it in place. Alright, what we're doing is we're actually measuring the distance between the flat part of the piston and the top of the jug. We want that to be at least 13 thousandths. It can be anywhere from 13 thousandths to 20 thousandths. Our head gasket is 27 thousandths compressed. 13 plus 27 is 40 thousandths. That's the goal that we're trying to reach. And so what we want to do now is this all needs to be compressed. And there's some that has, again, working on a budget on this. You can find your head bolts that are the same thread as your head bolts, but a little bit shorter, so you just snug down on your jug. But since, like the Allen heads, I don't have those a wide assortment of tools, I improvised. All I did was just take the head bolts and put a couple of big nuts on it. And so, and washers on both ends. So now I can go through. I can start our head bolts down. One in the front. Again, one in the back. Go ahead and start it down and snug it. And I'm sure a bunch of guys out there right now are screaming and saying, "What are you doing?" Well, this is the way that most people is going to have to do this, is going to be doing this, and so I want to show you how to do it. So all we're going to do is just, we're going to snug it down. We're not torquing them down or anything. It's the main thing. I mean, we don't want to rub on our jugs and actually harm this surface and scar it up, because when we do that, our head gaskets won't seal, and that's even worse. Then we'll have to go through and have it machined and be one big failure. Alright, so now I'm going to go through and again, working with our handy dandy little bolt head and our crank. we can turn our motor over. We're at top dead center, number 2 inner hole, and you can kind of just play around with it, move it back and forth, and you can watch that piston rise and fall just barely. And so we want it right at the top to where it's get our biggest measurement. Well, our smallest measurement. Alright, and we'll take a straight edge, and I have 13 thousandths, which is our minimum, and we have our 20 thousandths, which is our maximum. We'll lay our straight edge across. We'll look at our 20 thousandths. Let's go from the back side. A lot of room in here. I'll slide this in here. And our 20 thousandths will not go. So that's good. And our 13 thousandths, we want our 13 thousandths to go. Actually, we don't want our 13 thousandths to go. And it just barely slides in if I force it. So we're good. Our gap between the top of our piston, the flat part of the piston, and the top of the head is more than 13 thousandths. So we're within spec. Now we can go undo all of our temporary head bolts, our jug bolts, pull our jug off, pull our piston off, and we can insert the rings. Oh yeah, don't forget we have to do our front cylinder also. Same thing, put it on there and test it out. If it's wrong, if you go through and somebody has decked the top of the jugs and you go through and you're getting, you know, where the piston's actually sticking up above the rim, well, we got a gasket that's 32 thousandths, so you can throw that in there. Pick the height of the jug up, and that would fix that. If you're more than 20 thousandths, then as you start, the piston starts going further and further down away from the head, your compression is going to drop.